What's going on, everybody? This is your boy Dwayne coming to you live from the Edit Bay, and you're tuned into this week's episode of Developing Apex Brands. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Developing Apex Brands, here with your boy Dwayne coming to you live from the Edit Bay. So, man, I got a super special guest on this episode, man. One of the very first people that I met when I moved to Los Angeles, California back in 2014. A lifelong friend, probably one of the most genuine, real people that I know. I've seen the progression of this man go from not being exactly where he wants to be in life, but having a plan, a goal, and a community, and using that as an actual resource to himself to elevate himself into the position that he wants to be in today, man. So without further ado, I want to bring on my guy all the way from Monrovia, California. Let's give it up for my man, Christian Cole. What's going on, C?
What up, DC, man? Thank you for having me, man. How are you?
Can't complain, brother, man. Can't complain. How's everything going?
It's going great, man. I actually bought a house in Azusa, so I'm not in Monrovia anymore. But it's
okay.
Yeah,
moving on up like George and Wheezy.
That's right. Yeah. And if you remember your time over here, Azusa's only like the next town over. So, but this is where we landed this year. We bought a house in April. I actually closed it on 4/20, which was a fun day for me to be smoking and a homeowner at the same time. So it was right.
A nice day. That's amazing, man. That's amazing. So let's hop into it, man. For anybody out there who doesn't know who Mr. Christian Cole is, man, give him some background information.
Yeah, I mean, I'm I don't know, jack of all trades, master of few, and the couple things I have mastered in my life has been, well, I'll put it in consecutive order. I started off as a bartender, and that's when you and I were meeting maybe about a decade ago, and there was good money in that industry. Say it again, Dwayne.
When you said a decade, that kind of blew my mind. I didn't even realize it was that long ago, man.
It could be longer.
Yeah,
and it could be longer. And and I went from that position where you get paid cash, but you're so stressed out by the end of the day, you kind of want to drink, some of the cash that was put in your pocket. You just go put it in the next bartender's pocket because that job was so stressful.
Yeah,
so I knew I liked that position, but for me, it was more about how to use that as a platform to earn some money to get to where I wanted to be. And during that time, you remember I was doing a lot of ring announcing in professional wrestling and boxing and mixed martial arts. And that career has grown as well. But when you're on the independent scene, there's not a ton of money in that too, unless you're Bruce Buffer or Michael Buffer or one of these big guys. You don't really earn enough income to have the life that I wanted to live.
Yeah.
So about 8 years ago, I turned 30 years old and I got my real estate license. And that was something that I didn't ever dream about, but I thought about how that career would benefit me and my personality traits and how I could benefit people in that industry. And 8 years later, man, I mean, it's been exponential year over year. The first couple of years, I was taking L's in that business. Like,
yeah,
I would put 5,000-6,000 into it and make 3,000-4,000 by the end of the year. But I stuck with it, you know what I mean? And here we are now. And I'm really happy with how it's been going. And I'm proud to be a real estate agent, and I'm proud to be someone who can advise people, because I think that was always part of my personality. So
most certainly.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to speak on your life chronologically the best way that I know how to, based on how I know you, right?
Yeah.
So let's start with the announcing. How did you get into ring announcing? And for everybody out there who doesn't know, just to clarify, Big C over here, man, is a renowned, ring announcer, for wrestling and boxing. I've been to a few of the wrestling matches up there in that Monrovia Foothills area, and it's just electrifying. He pulls you in, to the action that's happening inside the ring. And, it looks like something that he's really put a lot of, time and love and sweat and passion and effort into. So like, where did you start? Like, how did you get into that?
Yeah. So, I tell this story very very candidly, because I think it's important for people to understand my story in that case. But you know, I had some addiction problems in the early mid 2000s. So like between 2005, 6, 7, all the way till about 2009. I had a habit with prescription pills. I led a very boring life. I suffered with depression and some of the other things that were going on in my life at that time. And I felt like those types of drugs were actually, you know, helping me get through that, but it wasn't. You know, it would just numb the pain. You know, and it would numb your day. You get through a whole day. You take, you know, 20 or 30 Norco Vicodin pills, and
wow,
yeah, and it was a path to destruction, man. And I knew I needed to get out of it. You know what I mean? You know, my 20s were just getting burnt by this habit that I was doing. And ultimately I decided, you know, how do I, you know, find my anti-drug? You know what I mean? How do I find this thing to get me out of this, something to distract me, something to be passionate about?
Exactly.
And yeah, I just went on a Google search, and I've always loved pro wrestling. So like, since I was little, I love pro wrestling. But, you know, I'm 6'1", 200 pounds. I'm not like some big cat, you know what I mean? But I wanted to train and learn how to be a professional wrestler, because I figured I could maybe try to be a performer in that way. And it was just real quick and real evident that my skills in professional wrestling, or in sports or combat sports, whatever you want to call it, were best on the microphone. That was where, you know, my gift of gab was able to come through, my charisma, my ability to get a crowd into it and perform. I have a theater background, so having a big audience watching me is something I feel very comfortable with. And so that's what happened, man. I went in and started training with Rikishi Fatu and Gangrel and Orlando Jordan. These are all, you know, former WWE wrestlers and champions. And they trained me how to wrestle. I graduated from that school, but at the end of that training, I actually went into the little, you know, training room we had, and they had a microphone PA set up. And I just went in there and pretended like I was Bruce Buffer, because Bruce was like a big inspiration to me, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I went in there and said, and in this corner, I started going up, and the promoter, the guy who was training me, looked out the curtain. He said, "Hey, Oos, that's your job now." I said, "What?" All right, well, shit. So the next time we had like a little school show, you know, like 40 or 50 people in the audience, that was my job, man. And I got suited up, and I realized, you know, dressing nice and the body language and getting the crowd into it and getting everybody hyped was a big part of it. And it gets my endorphins and my dopamine hits, man. I absolutely love it. So that's how it started. And then, you know, I mean, as recently as a couple years ago, before COVID really kind of tore everything down here in Cali, before everything changed out here in California, I was doing it in front of 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 people from New Japan Pro Wrestling. So it was cool to watch it kind of go forward. But yeah, I mean, not to end on a negative note, but with the lockdowns and everything, the industry has changed out here in California, and it's still recovering. It's still starting to come back. And so that has slowed down a little bit, but I still work a lot in that industry when I can, and I absolutely love it. I won't ever stop loving it.
Awesome, man. So I was actually going to get to that, but you kind of jumped the gun, man. So I was going to say, what was the actual league that you did your initial like debut for announcing it?
So that was Knox Pro Wrestling, run by Rikishi and the Anoa'i family. Samoan Dynasty is what they're called, right? And that was what that was. But it all kind of culminated with some appearances with WWE, with Impact Wrestling, with New Japan Pro Wrestling. And so yeah, it started with Knox, but it's grown since that point.
Most certainly. So let's talk about that New Japan league, man. Like, I wasn't familiar with it when you first, you know, got into it, but obviously I kind of, you know, gave myself a little, you know, crash course in it. So for those out there who don't know, let people know what that league is and then how you were able to transition into that position.
Yeah, so with New Japan, I mean, they're a company that is based in Osaka, Japan, and they obviously work in Tokyo and all over Japan. And they have this history that, you know, it's undeniable, right? I mean, you've had everybody that is anybody, whether it's Brock Lesnar, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, all these guys had worked there. And so, you know, in America, pro wrestling is a niche. It's a niche art, right? It's a niche sport, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And in Japan, it is as well, but there is a certain amount of respect that the fans show in Japan, and a certain amount of esteem that comes with New Japan Pro Wrestling. And so So yeah, that's who they are. I mean, it's also very different working there. I mean, like just one example is you go to catering. In America, you go to catering and they got chips and dip and they got carrots with ranch and stuff like that.
Yeah, bag of pretzels and some soda.
Some soda, bro. But out there, when you're working for New Japan, and they came to California, that's where I worked for them primarily. But you get this whole bento box with sushi and some wasabi, and it was just like the best masseuse, kinesiologist working in the back, working on the wrestlers, and there's just a little bit more of a respect. It's almost like a martial art is the way they treat it there.
Yeah. So man, it's kind of the equivalent of like the AFL versus the NFL, like Canadian football, CFL versus NFL.
Yeah, it really is. It's very different in that way. Culturally, it's very different in how they treat their people there. And there are similarities as well. There's also we call it a carny culture, where it's almost it all comes from the carnival days and in the 1800s, and they still have a little bit of that, which oftentimes produces bad habits and bad results. So there's a little bit of that too. We can get into that if you want, but the truth is I was very proud to work for them while I did, and I just love pro wrestling, but I love that Japanese style too, because there's just something different about the culture and what they bring to the industry.
Most certainly. Now, did you do all of that work inside of the United States, or were you able to take a trip to Japan at any time?
Yeah, I visited Japan more than once. When I was there, I wasn't working for them. As you would imagine, everything there is done in Japanese. And so, I met with the company out there. I had some meetings out there. I had already been working for them.
Okay.
But they didn't have any purpose for an English-speaking ring announcer at that time.
Understand.
So when they would come to California, Vegas, San Francisco, that's when I would get the phone calls to come and do my thing. And it was a really, really special experience. And I had my mom and my girl in the crowd, and that was a special thing for me too, to see my mom in the front row with 15,000 people, all just around and reacting to my voice and reacting to the things that I was doing. I think was cool, and it was cool for me too, because I think for a lot of years there was a lot of doubt about pro wrestling in my mother's mind, maybe in my girl's mind, about what that would mean and how that looks and whether it's a waste of my time. And and when they saw that, it was a little bit of like, oh shit, like this is pretty cool, you know what I mean? So
it's like you finally get that redemption for everybody kind of not giving you the credit that you knew you could see. Like you had the vision to see something everybody else can't see.
That's exactly right, man. Yep.
Most certainly. So let me ask you this, man. What do you think is the best part of ring announcing, and what is I guess, I don't want to say the worst part, but I guess the most challenging part?
I actually really appreciate that question, because I do like to talk openly about it. I'll tell you a quick story. I think I've covered a lot of the good parts, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the bad real quick. For me, there's a certain culture in pro wrestling that doesn't exist in many other forms of entertainment, where a lot of people will sort of haze and use and abuse certain people, whether that's someone like me who's an auxiliary talent, right? It's not me versus Brock Lesnar, it's somebody else versus Brock Lesnar, and I just happen to be in the ring, exactly. Right? And then there's also just a little bit of like deceit that happens in my industry, a little bit of people trying to cut your feet out from underneath you, people who want to take your spot.
Yeah. And now this isn't theatrics. This is real life we're talking about.
Yeah, this is real, man. I mean, and it happens to the wrestlers too. This is not exclusive to me. I just found that the way I reacted to it was not very good. I think a lot of people who enter the wrestling space, they go into it because they dream about it. I'm playing with action figures as a kid, imagining my toys wrestling and I'm the champion and all this other stuff. And when you get there, it's just a lot more politics and dirty work that you have to go through. So yeah, to sum that up, I would say that, you have to have mental fortitude and strength to be in an industry like pro wrestling. And I know there's a lot of industries like it. It's not exclusive to that. But in order to get to the place you want to be, you have to have thick skin. You have to not take things personally. And you have to understand that there are people who are coming for you. And they might smile in your face and be like, oh man, you're great. But then, you know, I'm behind your back, like, oh man, give me that spot, bro, because he ain't shit. You know what I mean? And I've noticed that a lot over the years, and I try to avoid those situations and circumstances, and I only work with people that I trust. But the industry, I would say, is for all the dopamine hits you get while you're in the ring performing, there are equal heartache and tribulations that you have to go through while you are going through these politics, through this sort of shit talking industry where people will cut the legs out from underneath you. And I have not always done a great job of that. I've sometimes taken things personally. I've sometimes been broken by my industry, lost sleep at night. But I'm getting to a place now at 38 where I can appreciate even the bad and good and just sort of just not take things personally. I'm getting better at it. So I think by the time I'm 58, I'll be good at it. And hopefully I still got some life in me left at that point, because it does take time, man. It takes time to get used to this type of culture. But it doesn't take my love away from it, because I'll always remember why I got into it. I got into this business to have fun, you know what I mean? To love it, to appreciate it, you know what I mean? And I don't want to let anything get in the way of that. And especially not something that's going on right here. When somebody says some shit to you that you don't like at the end of the day, it's all still right here. It's on you. You know what I mean? How you react, how you treat your own self and your own mind, even when faced with adversity. So I'm getting better at that, and I hope I can continue to do so.
Most certainly. You know, while you were talking, man, it just reminded me of this the podcast that I watch. Shout out to my man Craig Smith, the Craig Facts podcast. But one of the things he talks about a lot is narcissism, specifically within inside of the entertainment industry. A lot of people, you know, whether it be music, you know, comedy, even wrestling, you see a lot of people that come from brokenness. You know what I mean? That's why we're so addicted to that dopamine hit, you know, that we get from doing what we love to do. But the thing about being a narcissist, from what I heard from Craig, once they sustain what they consider a narcissistic injury, they either want to do one of two things to you. They either want to drive you crazy or they want to kill you. Right? So let me ask you this, like, what are your top tactics to deal with your entertainment industry narcissists? And I'll give you a perfect example. Like in my industry, I have a lot of people that do what you call buddy hustle, right? So they'll befriend you with the intention of, and if said intention of doesn't come to fruition, then they try to stab your back. Typically what I do is I always try to make sure that I keep people at a certain distance within inside the industry until I've been around them for at least 8 to 10 months. Once I'm able to see, you know, who you truly are, then I can kind of slowly start to drop my guard down. But that I've only learned that, you know, through years and years of trial and tribulation. So that's kind of like my biggest one, is to kind of keep people at a distance, to remain friendly, but I got to really vet you before I let you into my inner thoughts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, so I have a disadvantage there because, you know, I have a philosophy that, like, I just want to trust every person I meet instantly. Like, I don't do it the way you do it. Yeah. And I think I do that because, you know, I don't like it when people treat me with arm's length, you know what I mean? And I want to be treated, I have high self-esteem, at least in the way that I treat people. So I don't want someone to meet me and say like, hey man, like, I'm not so sure about this dude, you know? I want them to be like, oh, you're cool. So people always say, the cliche is trust is earned, right? But that really isn't the way I operate. And it's just based on who I am. It's not a decision I'm making, right? It's just my DNA is like, I pretty much trust people instantly. So that, yeah, bro, that shit bites me in the ass sometimes when that buddy hustle comes through 3-5 months later. But I would rather be disappointed by that and give somebody my love and affection instantly. And then if they screw me, you know, then I have to deal with it, rather than having this arm's length. And I don't know, man, why don't you speak on, like, when we met like a decade ago, it could be longer, D, but like, like, did you feel like I kept you at arm's length, or did you feel like I was, you know, what was your impression of me a decade ago in terms of like, was I trusting towards you instantly, or did you feel like I had that hand up?
Yeah. So before I answer your question, it just made me think, you know, what you just said is how I interact with women in relationships. I used to act that way with friendships as well. But I just, you know, I want to say maybe like 2 years ago is when I started to kind of change that. But to answer your question, For those out there who don't know, let me tell you how I met Christian. So when I first moved to Los Angeles, I was cleaning. I was a house cleaner. And Big C wanted to get his house clean, right? And so I show up to my man C's house. C's not there, right? I'm waiting around. I think I waited around like an hour, 20 minutes. But I really needed that money, man. I really needed it. So I waited around, but C finally showed up. Immediately trusting. The man let me in his house and then went on to do whatever he had to do. So I was in his house by myself, meeting him for the very first time. Didn't know me. Obviously, I was doing a job, but I know me, if I would have had someone in my home cleaning my house, I would have been there while they were cleaning it. But after you clean, you know what I mean? You're a cool guy. We exchanged phone numbers. And then from that point forward, you included me into your inner circle and your community as if I had known you for years, man. And that's why I know, your roommate. And that's why I know, I think it's Travis. And I can't think of what's his name. My man used to live upstairs, Calvin. Yeah. But yeah, to answer your question, man, you're an immediately accepting person. And I think that's probably one of your best qualities, but also in certain situations, it could probably be one of your biggest downfalls as well.
Yeah, it definitely can bite you, man. It could definitely be something where you regret being that guy. I just, okay, so I'll give you an example. Like you're from Carolina, is that correct?
That's correct. Well, originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I've been here since like 2005.
Okay, so when I met you, you were from Carolina. In my mind, you were not from Los Angeles, and you walked into that house, and it was clear to me that you weren't a house cleaner. Like you were a dude trying to make a few bucks. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, you did a pretty good job. But I'm saying, you were trying to make money, and so I wasn't treating you like a house cleaner. Not that I would ever treat somebody in that service industry any different than anybody else. But to me, it was just like, I remember being new to Los Angeles, right? I remember being new to 6th grade, right? I remember being new to all these situations. And, I just took a liking to your disposition, and I felt like, imagine if I had treated you at arm's length, like we wouldn't be here 2022 having this conversation, and we wouldn't have been able to watch each other grow. I've watched you grow in equal fashion the way you've watched me grow. So it's important that I think I continue to be this person. I'm driven by empathy, bro. Right? Like I saw you there, by the way, I wasn't a real estate agent. I wasn't making all kinds of money back then. I was a waiter. I was a bartender.
I remember.
So, so just having you come over there and clean the house, like I was no different than you know what I mean? And it was important that you as a new guy, you were around my age, that you were in a foreign place where you were looking to make networks happen. And that kind of transitions into what I wanted to say, which is that, we've talked a million times. I always talk about what Brandon Bell at the Ice House Comedy Club said to me one time, which was that your network is your net worth, right? And so the more people you meet, the more opportunity you have to either make memories or make money, right? And so I knew from you that I wanted either to make memories or maybe make a music video with you one day, or help you write a song or listen to a song you wrote and give you some critique back. At the time, you had all these banging music videos online where I felt like, this man's cleaning my house, but on YouTube he looks like a pro. Like it was a very interesting dichotomy to witness. And so again, when you're driven by empathy, you are usually a sensitive person. I'm a sensitive person, but I'd rather be sensitive and me take the brunt of the issues that come along with that than to be callous and have everybody look at me like, that dude's kind of, I don't really trust him. He's kind of a jerk. He didn't really look me in my eyes. He didn't really give me a chance. And it has been more beneficial in my life to be this way, although it does sometimes come with heartache or distrust. People, you know what I mean? People keep breaking my trust or whatever. I'd rather start with the empathy and the love and then wait for you to ruin the respect. Give you the respect off top and wait for you to ruin it, rather than 3-6 months later, you're like, you know what, me and this dude just ain't vibing because I just don't feel like you really trust me. And then I never see you again. We go our separate ways. So, it's not the right way. I'm not saying there's a wrong way or a right way. I think it's what I'm prone to doing based on who I am, based on the brain that I have.
Yeah.
And I can't only be me. So, but I do see the benefits of how I've handled empathy and meeting somebody and earning trust and all that stuff, and my philosophy on it.
Hey, man. Yeah, you know, and like I said, I've always been that way naturally, because that's the way I was raised. So you know, you might have me rethink this whole arm's length situation I got going on here, you know?
Well, I could tell you this, D, like I see you post sometimes, and I see, you know, if you don't mind me talking personally about
Yeah, let's talk about it, man. Tell me about myself, brother.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna try to, you know, armchair you. That's not what the purpose of this is. But I do see sometimes that you get hurt. You know what I mean? But that you feel that people disappoint you. And so, if you have this philosophy and yet you're still being disappointed by human beings, then why not just go with the blood that you were given and just show the love? You know what I mean? And just be willing to trust and empathy, because it seems like one way or another you might end up in disappointment with the way a person behaves, and I'm very much that way. I think as human beings, we all want people to be what we want them to be. But at the end of the day, they're going to be who they're going to be. And somebody you're best friends with for 20 years might say something to you on year 21 that just fucks it all up. You know what I mean? And trust is lost. So I would rather just get started right away. Me and you meet on day one. By week one, me and you were like, hey, bro, like, you want to meet me at the spot? Like, let's have a beer. Like, let's be cool. Rather than wait. And we're not promised tomorrow. So like either one of us could end up dead. And then it was like, man, I thought Dwayne was cool. I didn't really give him a chance and get to know him, but he was cool, man. I'd rather be like, nah, dude, like I've only known that dude for 6 weeks, but I know about his mama. I know about where he's from. I know about what his goals and his loves are. And you know what I mean? I don't mean to make it morbid, but that's my philosophy. And like, we ain't got no time to waste, bro. And I think human beings are the only thing that human beings have on this planet. Like everything you love, everything you like, everything you enjoy started with a person, right?
Yeah.
And even if it's wildlife on Discovery Channel, there's a human being telling you that story and filming that tiger and showing you what's so important about wildlife, right? And so I just really do. I love humanity, bro. I know that there's trash on this earth, bro. I know it, but I believe that humans can be good and can be good for you, and it's all we got, bro. So I try my best to just start off quick and just love people instantly, bro. That's my take on it.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, I can 100% attest to what you're saying now, just based on what you're saying, and then, you know, lining that up with your actions over the years, man. You know, and like I said, I do the same thing in relationships with women. I feel like the quicker you show empathy, the quicker you show love. If the intention on the other side isn't pure, you'll get to the end quicker as well. So it's almost like a blazing passion type thing. Like if you have passion for people, and you give people your all, you'll create a deeper and longer connection if the intention is reciprocated on the end. So,
and so just to add to that, bro, like people go through phases, right? So like somebody that's right for you in 2012 might not be right for you in 2022, but it doesn't mean that you were wrong the whole time. It may just mean that you grew apart. It may just mean that person has changed, or you have changed, or your dynamic has changed because of the things that are happening in your own lives. And so somebody might be cool as fuck in 2012 and a piece of shit in 2022, and you might be right about both of those things. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you were wrong the whole time. And so I just, you know, give everybody a chance. There are people I don't like when I meet them. I'm like, I don't like this dude. But it usually has to do with people who are, like you were talking about earlier, just pure narcissists, people who are transparently reckless or evil, people who don't look you in the eye, people who don't have a good upbringing. And I think, you know, that was something I noticed about you immediately. I've never had the pleasure to meet your parents or your grandparents and your upbringing, but in my view, they did a good job. And that's just my take. And so when I see you, and that's important to me, man, is that you come from a strong background where you were taught and learned how to be respectful, how to speak to somebody, how to just offer your kindness, your strength to other people. And you've always been that way, DC. And I mean, I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't given you that chance. You know what I mean?
I appreciate you, man. I think that's an important thing to always, you know, try to be an asset to other people. Just like you said, you know, our net worth is our network. And what better way to build a network to make yourself available, to improve other people's lives, right?
Yes.
So as a transition, let's go from we helped a lot of other people, right? So now we're trying to help ourselves, man. So I remember, and I might be wrong on the year, but I want to say it was like 2015 or 16. I remember sitting in your living room and watching you with that book that was like this thick, trying to get your real estate license, man. So like, tell me about like, the initial steps into, real estate, man. How was that hard for you, or?
So in 2013, the WWE called me and said, we want to give you a tryout. We're going to be in Los Angeles. We're going to be in Anaheim. We want you to come to both shows. We'll pay you to be at both shows.
Okay.
You'll do some extra work. You'll do some cool spots on TV. And then we'll review at the end of the week and see if we can offer you a job. And that experience was one of the darkest experiences of my life, being there with WWE for a few days. There was so much hazing, so much disrespect for the young talent, so much disregard, so much ego, so much narcissism in that building. And the thing I'm most famous for was being in a segment with Ryback, who was a 285-pound, guy with abs, right? Like completely all muscle, just. And they put us in a segment where, he was punking me. I was a young wrestler. He punked me, threw my shit in the shower, and then he ended up slapping the shit out of me. And that was a real slap. About wrestling being fake, but you could watch the segment. I mean, he hit the shit out of me. And it wasn't on him, bro. It was the writers, and I think it was the people in charge who. But I left that weekend being like, wow, like this ain't my dream, bro. Like it ain't my dream to like go and work for a company that treats people in this way, right? And so at that time, I was 29 years old at the time, I decided, okay, you know what, I need to figure out a plan B. And so my girl and I were just hanging out, watching some TV, and she pulled up her phone. I think there was an app called Groupon or something like that, that had real estate classes on discount. So the class is normally $600 plus $150 for your test. And it's a 3-month course. But they were offering the whole thing for $120.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, I'm going to turn 30 next year. And I mean, I know you remember when you turn 30 in your brain, at least, it's like a big deal. You're like, shit. Now,
yeah, it's like the squirrel, or it's like the squirrel in October.
That's right, man. Yep. Yeah. So I was looking for what the next plan would be. And I said, let me just try this thing. And I went down to Long Beach and did some classes. I was down there every Wednesday for 3 hours with a whiteboard that was 20 feet long, completely filled with words, taking notes just like the whole time. Went to take the test, expecting to fail. Sat there for the whole 3 hours. A lot of people were getting up an hour and a half, 2 hours into the test. I spent that last 2 hours reading the whole test over again to make sure that I got the proper answers in there, changed some answers, and walked out with a passing grade. And then it was like, well, now what do I do? You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I didn't want to be a real estate agent. I just wanted a career so that I could have a good life. And it became quickly evident to me that it was the right choice and that real estate was the right thing for me to do. And that has been the best decision I've ever made.
Oh, certainly. So now that so and shout out to Groupon, whoever got you that, man, because that's amazing.
Yes, shout out to Groupon.
Yeah, man, for you to be, hey, look, man, Groupon need to come back with that deal. I'll take that one. Shit.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, so we have our real estate license now, right? So, do you get with a broker? Do you join a Keller Williams or something like that, or are you staying independent and you're just kind of doing your online, marketing? Or two-part question: Did you go with an agent or agency? And then what are the best ways to market your services?
Yeah, so what I first did was I interviewed 2 brokers, and a lot of folks don't realize this, but when you have your license, you're interviewing the broker. The broker is not interviewing you unless you walk in there smelling funky with your hair all messed up. Like, you're pretty much interviewing them, right?
Yeah.
Because they want you because they get a piece of your pie. So they of course they want you there.
Mm-hmm.
I made the mistake of only interviewing with 2 when I probably should have interviewed, in my mind, I should probably interview 20. But I went with one of the 2 that I went with there, and I found myself in a position where the broker there was a very good mentor, and he taught me a lot. And then about three or 4 years down the road, I wasn't making the kind of money I was making, and I thought that the brokerage was holding me back. Not the broker himself, but the company, the style, the way that they were doing things just wasn't for me. And so it was a boutique brokerage. It wasn't Keller Williams or Remax. This is, just a side note, but those guys take a lot more money than some of these independent brokerages will take out of your check. So for example, if you sell $100 worth of stuff, you only get, $55 if you're working for Remax, right? But with the companies that I ended up going to, I would sell $100 worth of commission and I'd take home $95, which I thought was better. But it did take me going to the place where they were taking a bigger share and me learning some things and growing with them before I can go off on my own and be independent and say, let me go with a place where the money's better for me, but I really don't have as much help around me, because I gained that knowledge during those years to be able to walk my own walk. You know what I mean?
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does the typical day for a real estate agent look like? Like, if you could break it down into percentages of what you're doing on average, what does your day look like?
Yeah. So, discipline is huge, man. And I struggle with discipline, you know what I mean? And so somebody who has more discipline than me and more focus than I think I'm capable of would even do better than I do, right? But, I made a really good income last year. So I can imagine I would have maybe 4x that even with more discipline. But to answer your question, I think that the way it's supposed to be is habitual, right? Habits. Like you wake up, you make your bed, and then you get up and you go through your client list and their needs, and you look at what's out on the market, and then you send a few emails to each one of them, letting each person know that's trusting you to help them, like, this is the information you need. My industry is all about offering value, right? So if Dwayne says, hey, I want to buy a house in California, one of the things I might do is say, well, right over here in Pittsburgh, you can live next to grandma, and that might be the best thing for you. I might not even make $1 out of that, right? Because I don't sell in Pennsylvania. But you may say to me, like, hey, see, you know what, dude, like, you were right. I do want to be by my grandma, and I appreciate you thinking of me before you think of your wallet. Therefore, I'm going to send you 4 other people I know from California to do business with you. So my philosophy has always been just help people, even if it doesn't really help you, and it'll come back around. You know what I mean? Do right by people and gain their trust in that fashion. And so I think I answered your question, but forgive me if I didn't.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of businesses, like, when you're dealing with face to face, you're dealing with customer first, and obviously you want to make sure that you're taking care of the customer, because if you take care of one, I've always heard that word of mouth is the best form of marketing.
I mean, last year, bro, like, I did almost no marketing, right? Almost no marketing. I think maybe $2,500 was put into that part of my business, right? And I should have put more. It's not something I'm proud of. It's just how it developed. And yet I made more money than I ever made. And it was because last year, that word of mouth mixed with a really healthy market was what got me to having my best income I've ever had. And so last year was very important. It taught me a lot of lessons, and I think that being, just be, like you were saying, man, just being there for people will cause that word of mouth, and that word of mouth was evident last year, and it continues. It's just that now we're at 8 or 9% interest rates. People don't even have the option to buy a house right now. Their buying power went from 900,000 to 500,000 overnight, and as you know, you can't get you can't get a 1-bedroom studio for 500,000 in Los Angeles County. So yeah, the industry is changing and it's more difficult, but I still do get calls. I still have people say, hey, I heard you help my friend. Can you just answer my question? Sometimes I'll spend an hour on the phone just talking to somebody where I know they're not going to buy, they're not going to sell, but they're going to take an impression from me that was helpful and maybe pass that information on to somebody who will buy or sell. So I think it's important to always see the macro and not focus on the micro. Like, can I get $1 out of this man right here? It's more like, how do I find a way to create exponential growth and wealth from just the impressions that I'm making on human beings?
Most certainly. Hey, yeah. That's gems, brother. That's gems. So are you into any other forms of real estate investment, or are you strictly broker or strictly agent?
Yeah, I'm an agent. I'm under a broker, and I've been asked many times if I'm going to get my brokerage, get a broker's license and open my own brokerage. it's not right for me at this time with a 1-year-old at home to have that much time dedicated to other agents. I'm willing to help other agents, but I can't be obligated to do that right now because I'm trying to be a family man, at least for this next 4 or 5 years while my little boy is tiny. We're probably going to have another one. So I want to focus on family. I'm doing okay as an agent. So, but I can't see this ending any other way than me having my own company, my own business, and my own brokerage. Because I think it's important to, I believe I'm a leader, right? That's how I see myself. And I think it's important to use your strengths in this world and to lead. If you can lead, you have to lead, especially if you're leading in the right way. Yeah. And I hope to do that in the future. But right now I need to lead my family and lead my girl and lead this mortgage payment that I just put on myself. And once that all starts to culminate and my son's a little bit more independent, and if we're blessed enough to have another child, all that stuff becomes a little bit more self-sustaining. That's when I could say, okay, let me focus on some more of like having my own company and bringing in young agents and teaching them the things that I know. And by the way, 9 years in, bro, like I still feel like I'm learning. Like I'm not all the way there yet. I don't have the full faith that I could be like the all-knowing broker who could just, solve any problem. Like I still call some of these old school guys from my company, like, hey, hey Jeff's 65 years old. Like, hey Jeff, man, tell me about this. What would you do in this situation? And that speaks to how important it is to be humble, even if you do grow, is like sort of understanding that a lot of people try to fake it till they make it. Like I'm not faking shit, bro. I don't know the answer. I'm gonna tell you. Like I don't know the answer, DC. Let me go find out from someone smarter than me. But we have double custody on this information, so we can learn together, and we're gonna guide you the right way. So, and that goes from I think a bit of humility. I have a healthy ego, but I think humility is a philosophy that I have. And so it's important to have that as a philosophy, even if you do have a healthy ego and you believe in yourself and you have self-esteem. You know what I mean? Yeah,
most certainly. One thing I can always say about you is that you've been I consider you a natural born leader, just even the way that you deal with your friend circle, you have events, you have parties, you know what I mean? Have I missed WrestleMania this year? Did you guys bet on it already?
So the one you're talking about is Royal Rumble, and if you want to come, bro, you got to come in January because we do that Royal Rumble party. And just so your fans, I don't know if anybody really cares about wrestling, but it's
I got some wrestling fans, man. Matter of fact, one of the guys I do a podcast for, he's a wrestling fanatic. So I got some people here that watch.
So I'll break it down real quick, but in the Royal Rumble, you have 30 entrants come into the ring one by one every 60 seconds. And if they go over the top rope, they're eliminated, right? And so what we do is we put 30 numbers in a hat, and everybody puts $100 in the hat. So if we got 15 people at the house, then we got $1,500 in this hat. And you get 2 wrestlers. Like I might get the 2 worst wrestlers that there is in the company on accident. It's a little bit like a lottery. It's not so much any skill involved.
Exactly.
But I was telling my buddy the other day, I said, man, Dwayne, you got to come, man. But I was telling my buddy the other day, I was like, the great thing about this is that like, if I give $100 to this kitty, and then the other buddy gets Roman Reigns and he wins the whole thing. He wins the Royal Rumble. Like I'm stoked that he got the $100 because that dude gets a new PS5, right?
Yeah.
So when you have only friends and family in your house and you're doing this Royal Rumble game that we do, you might lose 100. I've won 2 years in a row, by the way. But you also might get a PS5 out of it, and there's nothing better than seeing like Tommy or Travis get a PS5. Yeah.
Don't tell me you got still got some connections down there at WWE over there cheating.
No, I don't cheat, bro. I don't cheat. Because the numbers are in a hat, so they're random. So like, I'm not even looking in the hat. I might get 3 and 17, and I don't know who's coming out of 3 and 17. So it's fair. Even though both times I won, I got accused of shenanigans. There was no shenanigans.
Yeah, I'm fucking with you, man. When I was there last time, I can't remember what year that was, but I know I had Roman Reigns, and I think he made it to like the last 2 or 3 people. I was so pissed. Matter of fact, I think Kim won.
Yeah, Kim won one, I won one. Some other folks have won over the years, and now since the last 3 or 4 years, they're doing a women's Royal Rumble and a men's Royal Rumble. So now you have 2 chances in each match to win, 4 chances total. So it's fun, man. We have a blast, and we drink and smoke, and it's a whole thing, bro. But like, when people don't like wrestling, but they come for the Royal Rumble, they leave liking wrestling, bro. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question, man. Pertaining to real estate.
Yeah.
What is the most fun part of the job for you? And then what is some information that you can give? Because I've actually already interviewed some real estate guys. They weren't really in as far as like being agents, but they're more so like wholesaling and different REI type of strategies. But for being an agent, what is a piece of information or some things that you could give to potential real estate agents that'll be watching this? Something that you could, like a piece of information you give them that'll save them some time, like a shortcut, something that when you learned it after you got your license, you was like, man, if I would have known this 2-3 years ago, my trajectory would have went even higher.
Oh, that's a really good question, DC. I honestly feel like there is no shortcuts in my business, bro. Because when you're day one as a real estate agent, you have to tell everybody. Everybody's like, "You're a what?" Like, yeah, okay, bro. You're a bartender. Like, you're a ring announcer, bro. You're not a real estate agent. And it isn't until you start selling, and it's just like anything, bro. When you go into a new restaurant to become a bartender, and you like, "Hey, I'm gonna apply for the bartender position," the first question they ask you is like, have you ever bartended? And of course the answer is no. You're like, nah. So they're like, oh, we're looking for somebody with experience. When you get told that so many times, I would just, I want to answer your question, but it's so difficult that
you are answering it. You are answering it, but continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I would just say this, like, definitely getting started on your marketing as soon as you go to school. Like, as soon as you go into that school, if you know you want to finish school and you want to get your license and become a real estate agent, you get your business cards done, you get your photos done, you start posting on social media, the freest version of marketing that exists in our world today. And you start telling everybody in your sphere of influence, this is my career, this is what I'm doing. I'm going for broke. I'm dead serious about this industry. I don't know much yet, but here's me doing my thing, working hard. I did spend a lot of years not doing that. The first 2 or 3 years, it was just me hoping that I could find a client and not doing enough of that type of marketing. Yeah. So a shortcut would be to start the marketing instantly. And that way, by the time you get your license 3 to 4 months later, people already know that that's who you are and where you're headed with your career. And I think that could help because frankly, the process, and everybody that's a real estate agent will tell you this, it takes about 5 years to really start getting it to roll over to where you're actually making money. So why not take that 3 or 4 months off that 5 years and start off with a head start? I think it's important.
Yeah, most certainly. And that's funny that you say that, because I remember being on Facebook and seeing posts about that transition time or period when you were going from announcing to being a real estate agent. It seemed like a lot of people had, some things to say about it, So
yeah, and I'll just tell you another quick story, man. Like my broker at the time, the one that I ultimately ended up leaving, he would always just say, well, what are you, man? Are you a wrestler? Are you a ring announcer? Or are you a real estate agent? Because your social media just looks like you're into wrestling and that's about it. And he said, I'll never forget, he said this shit. He said, and all those people in wrestling are broke. They're never going to buy nothing from you. You need to start hanging out with rich people and rubbing your elbows with people. I understood that his lesson that he was trying to teach me wasn't inaccurate. It wasn't that he was wrong. But it was ironic that we fast forwarded like 2 to 3 years later, and almost everybody that I was selling a house to was somebody who was signed by WWE, signed by AEW. They had come up from the independent scene, making money, making $500,000, making $1 million a year. And they say, hey, Christian, man, like, I know you from wrestling. Like, I want to buy a house through you. So he was right and he was wrong. He was wrong in the sense that he thought I needed to leave all that shit behind me and move towards hanging out with people, at the tennis club, which is not who I am, bro. Like, you're never gonna catch me at the tennis club, bro. Like, no matter how much I might think it might benefit my pocket, like, I'd rather smoke a blunt with like people who I feel are like my family, you know what I mean? Like true people. And if they don't have any money, I still rather be with them because I like them and I love them, rather than just like go kick it with like Brad and his wife Sarah and hope that they like me enough to fucking sell $1 million house to me. That just ain't me, bro.
Yeah.
But I did also notice that when my people started to create wealth in their lives, that I started to make more money. It was just that I didn't turn my back on those people. I stuck with them. They leveled up, and then I was able to earn commissions off of helping them through their transactions.
Yeah. Hey, look, see, I don't know if you know it, man, but you have kind of what I would consider the prototype to doing it your way, man. There's so many people out here that wish they could be in your position, or they're in your position, but they're not in it in the capacity that they want to be in, right? They have no control. They can't smoke the weed like they want to because they get drug tested every week, or every other month, So, man, I'm so happy for you, man. Like, from the bottom of my heart, aside from the podcast, everything else, man, friend to friend, man, I admire you, man, and I'm happy to see your progression, bro.
I appreciate you, DC, and that means a lot, bro. And I mean, shit, it's mutual, bro. The only thing about you is I wish you were still out here. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
I see you doing your thing, bro. I see you doing your thing, and this world now has never been closer. You and I are 3,000 miles apart, and I feel like I'm in the room with you right now. So like, it's never been easier to keep a job in Los Angeles and live in Nashville for half the price, right? It's never been easier to make yourself digital and present everywhere. Like, one of my goals right now is like, I should probably get my license in Texas, in Florida, because what keeps happening is I'll have friends who are leaving California to go to Florida or Texas, and I can't earn any income off of that. Well, all I got to do is hop on a quick flight, show them some houses, and I can make an extra $20,000 or $30,000 by just getting my license there.
Exactly.
So the California license doesn't have any reciprocity in other states, but if you get like a Florida license, you'll have a license in Alabama, Georgia, Texas, South Carolina. So I think I need to start looking into that because I still want to grow too, bro. And I just want to say something about the weed real quick because it's important for me to know, man. Like, I know I talked about smoking plants. Cannabis has been a huge part of who I am for like as long as I can remember. But there are detriments to smoking weed, man. And it's not all just like, it's not for everybody, bro. Like,
for sure.
That kind of thing makes you like non-functional. I don't want to say dysfunctional, but non-functional. Like, you can't really like do your thing the right way because you smoke. Like, give it a break for a little bit, And I know, like, I'm on a break right now. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't been smoking this last month or so.
Okay.
Because my son is starting to get to an age where I really just want to be present, and I felt like I was getting diminishing returns from cannabis use while he's little. You know what I mean? And also to be a good influence on him. So you'll only hear me be an advocate for cannabis, an advocate for obviously the legalization and decriminalization of cannabis. However, I did bring up weed more than once in this podcast, and I want to make it clear that like it ain't for everybody. It ain't like, sometimes I think it's a little immature to just sit around smoking weed or sit around having 12 beers or whatever somebody wants to do. There is a time for that. There's a time, but I think it's like when you're in Hawaii or in Barbados or just chilling in Jamaica. Like, it's not always when it's a Monday or a Tuesday and you're trying to get shit done. You know what I mean? So you have to pick your battles. I didn't mean to make this about cannabis, but it came up more than once, and I wanted to give you my whole take on it because it's not. It's more nuanced than just like, oh, I like to smoke blunts. It's not that easy. You feel me? So
no, you know what, and I appreciate you having a balanced perspective on it, because a lot of times people just they advocate, and they don't talk about the other side of it or the downfalls of it. A lot of times it can make you lethargic, which will kind of
it's a huge one for me, bro. Paranoid is like, yeah, man, like I'll smoke something and maybe be by myself and get all in my head about like all my sort of faults and things that are wrong with me and my parental relationships and my relationship with my son. Like, so it's not always good, bro. It's not always good. It's just anyway, it was just a part of speech that I wanted to clear up when I talked about
no, trust me, bro. I understand, man. I think at some points, and this is not for everybody, but even for me myself, just like you said, I think sometimes marijuana can disconnect my action from my thoughts. So I'll think something and I'll know what I want to do, but the lethargicness of the weed prevents me from actually taking the action, and by the time I'm sober, all I did was a whole lot of thinking.
Yeah, and oftentimes by the time you're sober, you actually all you want to do is just smoke more. Like, you want to. Weed's a weird one, bro, because it's cool and it's medicinal in a lot of ways, but it isn't always gonna get you to where you need to go. And if you find that your life is stagnant or plateaued, I think changing things can often help. Like, stop drinking for a little while, stop smoking weed for a little, stop watching pornography, stop like do certain things that are gonna like, okay, I did this different this week. What was the result? Like, did shit change when I change shit up?
You
never know. That's all you do.
Yeah, you know what you're speaking on? You're speaking on dopamine, is what you're speaking on. Is that I think in this society we have too much access to dopamine, artificial dopamine, meaning like we have instant gratification, whereas I think oftentimes the productive gratification is delayed gratification. working hard towards something to accomplish something, working out, you know what I mean? Being physical with your body. Those are all things in the short term, they're hard, you know, and they take a certain amount of human capital out of you. But on the back end, you get to receive the reward, and it's a delayed dopamine. So yeah, I totally agree with you as far as you got to do all things in moderation, right?
Yeah, and I mean, there was nothing more delayed in terms of dopamine than like getting my real estate license and losing 3,000 the first year, and then making like 10,000 the next year, just like showing up to a bartend and like mixing Jack and Coke while trying to convince people that I was a real estate agent. Like there was no dopamine in that whatsoever for like 3-4 years, and then eventually like it started to roll, and I started to realize how this version of dopamine, where it comes with a big bag, is like a better version than the one where you just like fuck or smoke or whatever you do like at your house, like on some bullshit, make $20 off of a fucking hustle. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit. Yeah. That shit is too quick, too easy, and it isn't sustainable.
Most certainly, man. So look, see, I know I had you here for a little minute, man. We're almost hitting that hour mark. But tell the people, man. So, well, now before we get to that, man, let me ask you this, man. What's our 5-year plan, man? We staying in real estate? Are we trying to get back into wrestling and announcing somehow, or what we got going on, brother?
So I'm still announcing. I work for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, the #1 independent promotion in the world. I am their guy, the ring announcer there. That's my company. We do downtown Los Angeles shows quarterly, every 2 to 3 months. We'll do two shows or something like that. I was just hired as the new ring announcer going forward for a company called Lucha Boom. They have an international presence. It's a lot of burlesque and Lucha Libre pro wrestling combined together.
Okay.
So I'm still very active. It's just that California had kind of changed the frequency with which how much you can be active.
Yeah. Do those I didn't mean to interrupt you, but do they have do they have websites, or do we have the ability to stream that so we can see you live or anything like that?
Yeah, so you can go to official PWG on Google, and I think the website might be officialpwg.com. You could find Lucha Boom is a live event. It's more like a theater show that you would have to see here in downtown, we're going to Vegas next year as well.
Okay.
So you can obviously follow me on social media at XGenCole. It's Christian Cole search on social media. But in terms of the 5-year plan, man, I've heard from more than one person who are smarter than me that like when you have a baby and then they're ages 0 to 4, that it's like one of the most magical times and most impressionable times on that young person's life. Mm-hmm. So my 5-year plan is to be a father. Obviously that requires bringing in some income and making sure I can feed my family and keep this house clean and all that stuff. But I would think in 5 years from now, I would hope that my ring announcing career is going forward even stronger. And I would hope that by then I'm probably thinking about opening my own brokerage. Mm-hmm. And in 5 years, man, I'll be 43. And I never thought like I would be 43. Not that I thought I was going to die early, but you just don't think about being 43, right? And so I hope at 43, that I could actually diversify some of my portfolio. And so this was my first home purchase this year. The one I'm sitting in right now is my primary residence where I'll raise my son for the next number of years. Mm-hmm. But my hope is that with the market dip that I could actually gain some capital and put a lot of money away. And that if the market continues to dip, I have an opportunity to buy a secondary home on discount. So right now I got my eyes on Big Bear, California, which is a mountain and lake community with forest and all that stuff. Yeah. And they have cabins for sale up there for like $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, something that I think I might be able to swing. And I see people all day turning those into Airbnbs, and their mortgage payment will be like $1,600 to $1,800, and they'll make like $4,000 to $6,000 each month on average by renting that out to people who go on vacation. So my eyes right now, in terms of what I want to invest in, is set on a second home, because that's what I know. It's the thing that I know the best, and so I might as well try to get a second home and maybe a third and a fourth and a fifth home and create income from those homes, so that in 18 years, my man can go to college, like any college he wants. And even if he doesn't get, a scholarship, that I might be able to afford to just say yes to him and get him in there and pay for school. I always wanted to go to Cal Berkeley. I didn't have that opportunity. I didn't have it financially. I didn't have it academically. And I was a kind of a slacker in high school. I wanted to go there, but I didn't want to go. Like, I wanted to go there, but I didn't want to go there. You know what I'm saying?
Understandable.
So that's my 5-year plan, bro, is to get this young man set up, to continue to set myself up for success, to continue to work on my relationship with Kim, and so that she and I can have a successful relationship, so that he comes from a 2-parent household. And I think that that's always a work in progress, is having, working on something with your girl. Like we know better than anybody else. So we fight, we talk shit, like we have problems, we don't see eye to eye, but it's important to always make that a focus on behalf of my son, because my parents, that's not how it unfolded with them. And I was at a disadvantage, I believe, because of that. And
me and you both.
So, you know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of your viewers, I feel like most people who live in America probably have some story where they come from a dysfunctional household. So I want to do my best to create a functional household for him. And I think he's going to be a rock star, my little boy. So like, not a real rock star, but like a rock star. So I want to like set him up to have as much potential as possible without being a distraction or a deterrent from that. This life ain't about me no more, bro. It's about him. It's about whoever other kids I have, and it's about my girl. And that way, she does so much for this house, bro, that I feel like it's important for me to maintain a good relationship with her so that he can have a good life.
Man, that whole 5-year plan warms my heart, man. Like, honestly, that really does, man. Like, I heard fatherhood. I heard duty and honor to your spouse or to your significant other. I heard, financial, goals. Like, everything is there, man. So it
ain't easy, DC. You gotta really you gotta work on it the same way you gotta wake up and work on your job every day, bro. It's another job. It happens to come with the best benefits. It's better than anything I've felt in a wrestling ring. It's better than any deal I've cut at a home, at $1 million house or whatever. This relationship with my son and helping him develop into a good man is something that is paramount to me.
Most certainly, man. And also, man, as far as what you were saying about that whole Big Bear situation, man, I've been trying to slowly but surely, dibble dabble my way into wholesaling. So if I can find some off, market non-MLS deals, I'll definitely make sure I send them your way.
Please do. And they're coming, man. This market is going crazy right now. The country's economics are doing things that, for the last decade, we didn't think would happen, but it's happening. It's unfortunate. But with every situation, man, you could see the sunny side of it. And right now I'm trying to see how I can position myself for the sunny side of a down market, of a bad economy, and how I could, just grow, wealth for myself. And I don't mean to sound like, because I'm not really somebody who's motivated by material things or by money, but I have learned by making more money that it is power. It equals power. And I want to have the power to give my son a good life. And so that's where I'm at, bro.
Most certainly, man. And you heard it, man, from one of the most educated, coolest dudes that I know out there on the West Coast, man. One more time, let them know where they can find you on social media, brother.
Yeah, social media, man. You can find me at Christian Cole or at Xtian Cole with an XTIAN on pretty much all of them. Instagram, TikTok is something I'm trying to get into for your people, man. I mean, TikTok has been such a blessing in terms of how they treat their users, putting that content in front of other people. Like, your setup over here is so professional with your lighting and the screen in the background, and obviously you're incredibly articulate in the way that you think of things is well thought out. That people will be attracted to you on TikTok, and TikTok gives you that opportunity in a way. Now you see Facebook, Instagram, YouTube all using these shorts and these reels, copying TikTok, because that's what people want. They're like, yo, I'm putting content on your website so you can sell ads. Like, give me some love. And so I had a video like last year on TikTok where I just talked shit about the Cowboys for a second, but it was kind of a funny video. Yeah. And it has like 2 million views, bro. Like,
oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like 50,000 likes, like. And it was just something stupid. It was a lesson for me to say, like, I could use this to my advantage. You know what I mean? Like, set up a nice studio, start a podcast, start discussing things, post those things on TikTok and now on Instagram Reels. They'll blow up without you even trying to, especially if the content is either controversial, funny, or interesting. And if you're able to do that, that's going to build your network and what?
Your network, baby. Damn right, man. You heard it, man. You heard it from the horse's mouth, man. I think you guys out there, watching this on YouTube, man, you could take a lot of gems, from this conversation, man. So, I want to say thank you very much, C, for giving me some of your time this evening, so that we could chop it up and have this great conversation, man.
Yeah, DC. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I'm glad we got a chance to do it, man. And I'm proud of you, what you're doing over there, bro. Keep doing it, keep sharing it, and keep growing, brother.
Most certainly, man. And like I said, I'm gonna get out there sometime soon, man.
Royal Rumble, baby.
Damn right, man. So let me go ahead and drop my socials really quick for the fam out there, man. Y'all can find me on Instagram, Dab Media Group. You can also follow my clothing company at dabclothing.co. You can also follow me on Facebook. I got 2 pages there for both brands as well. That's www.facebook.com/Dab Media Group. You can also find the facebook.com/Dab Clothing Co. You can also go to the Dab Clothing Co. website, www.dabclothingco.com. I got t-shirts, hoodies, I got leggings on there, I got hats, I got anything and everything on there, especially for the upcoming winter time, man. I'm about to put out a new line, hoodies for the winter time, guys.
And Dwayne, those tees are high quality, bro. I think I bought 10 of them from you earlier this year. I gave out 8 of them. I got all my friends, Dab is a big part of the culture, weed culture. I got a lot of weed head friends. They all wear the Dab shirts. I know that's not the significance of it, but it works out really well for my friends. And they're all sporting it. And now it's winter, so I'm gonna hit you up after this show wraps and get a couple of those hoodies.
Yeah, man. You know what? If you know anybody out there in the dispensary industry, man, help me get some connections, man, because I might be able to put some merch in some stores, man. I think it would be a good transition.
Yeah, and consignment's huge out here, bro. So we'll get you set up for sure.
Most certainly, man. Most certainly. Well, hey guys, without further ado, man, if you like this video, please make sure you like the video. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please turn on that bell for notifications. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or any future video ideas that you would like for me to touch on, go ahead and comment that below in the comment section below. And again, thank you, Big C, and everybody out there in YouTube land. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Developing Apex Brands.
Thanks, DC.
Peace. All right, C.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.